All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Flipping Miami. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Ryan Dossey. I hope I didn't
No,
mess
you
that
did
up.
good. You did
All
good.
right, cool. Ryan Dossey is currently in San Diego. He's a real estate investor, owns a portfolio of about $8.8 million. Um, he's got his hand in a bunch of different companies. He's got a wholesale company, a company called Call Porter that helps investors do outbound and inbound. What I know, I've actually used them in the past. All around good dude. We have many friends. And this is actually the first time me and Ryan have a pretty legitimate conversation. So I think we'll keep it as real as we can. And it's a cool way to kind of introduce ourselves and share with you guys. Ryan's been able to build a bunch of things, man. He's got an awesome website, Instagram. So you guys have to follow him. I'll put the stuff on the show notes. But other than that, man, let's get it started. Ryan, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
It was actually pretty funny. Ryan was like, "Oh shoot, I didn't know we're doing a podcast now. Give me a second." Actually,
yeah,
but I love it.
I swapped over to the good mic for you.
So that's good, man. So now everybody's hearing you a little bit better. What mic do you use, by the way?
So for my YouTube stuff, I use a Rode. I think it's an NTG2.
The one that goes on top of the camera there, or you use
No, it's like a shotgun mic.
Okay.
So it's not like a lapel mic, but it's pretty close to it. And then we also have a Rode one that's on top of our camera, and we blend the two audios. Okay. For podcast stuff, this is a Rode Procaster.
Oh, cool. Love it, man. So Ryan's been doing real estate for how long you been in the game, man? 'Cause I know you have a bunch of properties and different things, but how long you been in it?
I think I started end of 2014, early 2015. So
cool. Yeah, man, you've been able to accomplish a ton. So I think it'll be an awesome story to see how you got there. So let's kind of start from the beginning. Yeah. Even before the beginning, let's say we would have met. I know we just met virtually now, but let's say we would have met in like college or high school or something. Who was Ryan then? Were you a shy kid? Did you always have little businesses and jobs? Did you play sports? Like who was Ryan back then, man?
Yeah. So, we're going there. Okay. So my last year in public school was 8th grade. And then I moved over to homeschooling with some friends of mine because we were in like a little emo band we'd built.
Really?
Went absolutely nowhere. So, back then Ryan was girl jeans, band t-shirts, and hair dye and hairspray.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
wow.
I've got pictures.
You should put those on your website, man. You should
every now and then I'll drop them on social. They're not great.
What color hair? What was your favorite color hair?
So I did black with red and blonde a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were into music in high school, more like the rock, kind of like heavy metal type stuff?
Yeah. August Burns Red, Job for a Cowboy, that kind of stuff.
And how long? So you started that in high school, you're doing that, and like you mentioned, like, oh, it went nowhere. Like, how long did it take you that it was kind of going nowhere? Were you in college at this point? Are you out of high school, or what was that?
Yeah, no, so that was I'm talking like 6 months. We realized the like 5 of us just could not function cohesively. One of them actually went on and did some stuff with Disney Channel for a little bit, and now I have no clue what he does. I think he's kind of just another LA person. So I'll leave that there. But I taught guitar for a while as like a job. I remember I thought it was so cool that I was making like $25 an hour. And then my brother actually got me into like hardcore one call close over the phone car warranty sales. So I actually had my first full-time job when I was 17.
Wow. Okay. So you started the heavy metal stuff, then you go into the car warranty sales. So your brother seems like and you still work with your brother today, right? Is that the same brother?
He's my employee.
Oh, your brother works for you now. Okay. Okay. So it seems like your brother kind of had that little business-y type of spark, and you were like on a different journey. He kind of brought you in. Is that like
no? So he was actually in a more successful emo band than I was ever in.
no?
They like did some shows and stuff, and so wasn't making any money. So he got into car warranty sales, and then I was like 17 and obviously had no money. And he was like, "Hey, I think I can probably get you a job where I work." And I was like, "Okay, cool, let's try it." Horrible environment. Very like Wolf of Wall Street, like guys snorting coke off their desks, like just horrible people, but incredible kind of baptism by fire into the sales world.
Wow. Fucking love it. That's interesting. So you're 17 and you start witnessing this craziness in car warranty sales. I actually come from the car business, not the warranty side, but
yeah,
I know it can be interesting. That's for sure.
I mean, my first month there, it's my first or second month there, I finished first in the company, and my check like post tax was like over 10 grand.
Damn.
So needless to say, I obviously handled that well. Hired movers and moved out. So it was an interesting. It was fun for probably a year, and then similar to I think the car industry, every year it got harder to make the same amount of money doing the same level of fulfillment.
Right.
So I did that till I was 20 or 21, and my last year doing the same level of sales. Pre-tax, I made 21 grand. So my wife and I kind of had this weird like reverse. Most couples like start out with no cash. We got married and it was like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Like, we've got money to play with. And then we went down the other route of like, okay, what's a budget? Like, how does this work? So it got to the point that I was just like, I hated it. I mean, my phone would ring and I was like, F this, what am I doing here? And that was about that time a coworker recommended I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
But tell me about that. Like, how did you do so well in the warranty thing? Like being so young and like coming from a rock band, like how
my dad always owned his own companies. So, okay. I mean, we kind of like saw that piece to it. Ultimately, I think early on my driving force, I'm a car guy. So it was kind of like I want to make a lot of money so I can drive fun cars. Now, when I was young, that was nothing like super cool, but I think I was very money motivated. As a kid, I would mow yards or shovel snow, or basically if I saw an opportunity to help people and make money, I took it. So that was kind of how car warranties started. And then, the deeper you get in that industry, kind of the shadier you realize it is. And it just got to the point that I was selling something I didn't believe in anymore. And that just didn't work for me.
Yeah, that's not good. So, all right. So, and you were at that point, you were still like the car warranty thing. It was, you were working for basically a company, but you're like a sales rep type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was literally in like a cube farm, hundreds of cubicles, just one guy picking up the phones.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
And at what point, so you're getting married, all this is happening. At what point did it shift in your mind? Was it like one moment? Was it many moments that you're like, all right, I'm going to do something different on my own. I don't know if after that you started real estate or you started something else, but like at what moment were you like, okay, this is it. I'm done with that. I hate taking these calls. I don't want to be in this cubicle anymore.
Yeah.
How much money? Like what happened? What was going on?
When I was like 13 or 14, I distinctly remember writing myself a letter for some weird emo kid reason, right? And the main piece to it was I didn't want to be normal. I didn't want to have a normal like 9-to-5 job. So I think just from day one, I was always looking for like, what is my thing and how do I figure out what that is? Learned about real estate investing. I actually found Bigger Pockets. Originally, Mark Ferguson had posted when he bought his Lamborghini Diablo. And I think I Googled something like, how do millionaires afford cars, which led me to real estate, which led me to this blog post Mark had done. And, I did my first direct mail campaign and kind of was off to the races.
Wow, very cool. So it's kind of like you wrote it to yourself a while ago without even like reading a book. You probably just, who knows, you were having thoughts. You're rocking.
I think it was just my dad. Like my dad always worked for himself and I really admired that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think it was just kind of like I didn't want the normal boring life of like show up, punch in, punch out, go home, drink beer, repeat. Like that just didn't appeal to me.
And I love to ask you that question because, number one, I think it's awesome to share that the story that you're a human. I'm a human, even
absolutely.
Even Warren Buffett, everybody's a human and everyone comes from different backgrounds. Like you, although your dad had a business, it's not like you came from royalty. Nor were you,
No.
So it's cool to see that you wanted it since you were younger, but not only did you want it, you really wanted it and took action. Even after you were making good amounts of money, selling stuff or doing whatever, you still took action. You're like, I think I can go a different path. Like there's something else here. There's something else here. You explored that.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. I remember I read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Okay. Probably back in 2015, which basically talks about a lot of the like advantages that we're born into that like we can't really take credit for in like our story. And it's funny because looking back, like one of the reasons my business exploded was I moved to Indianapolis and I didn't have a choice. And then I met really good people. And it's like there's a lot of just these things that have contributed to my story where it's, I mean, I just kind of tell people I use like the Marriott business model. If you've ever heard the Marriott story, it's basically just following opportunities as they present themselves.
Really? And that's so cool because like, when people like kind of just start this business journey or like, because I'm sure you're in the education and stuff and you have a website, you see all these things, you probably talk to a ton of investors, newer people. When people want to start out, why do you think that they fail? Like in your mind, I know that there's statistics and over 50%, whatever, but really at the core, why do you think people fail or why do you even think people give up? Or like kind of what do you think about that? Like,
so I think the favorite answer I have to that question, there's a guy named Chris Robinson. He actually runs John Maxwell's leadership team.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with John Maxwell, great leadership author. But he did a call for my group and talked about, he was at an event of like new people trying to get into the coaching business and saw this guy going around to every table, kind of asking questions. And he gets to Chris's table and the guy goes, hey, so like what do they not want us to know? How is this going to fail? And he was like, well, I could tell you right now, you're going to fail because you're already looking for how this is not going to go well. So, I mean, man, the number one thing that I have seen is like, if you're looking for the opportunities, if you're looking for places to add value and to serve people, you'll find them. It's kind of like if you start looking at like a particular car, then you start to see them all over the road, right? If you're looking for the failing stories or this didn't work, like I'm not saying don't educate yourself, but what you seek is really what you're going to find. And I mean, even the guys I mentor, the ones that are the most successful are the ones that are like, this is going to work. Yeah. And it's funny. Some of them like right off the gate, they pop off a ton of deals. We had a guy in a more expensive market in Washington who was like 2 or 3 months deep in marketing, had several like, man, I kind of losing some faith here. Shot me a DM this morning that he locked up like 6 deals over the weekend. Wow. And it was like, bro, had you given up a month ago? He's like, I know, man, I know. So, I think it's that looking for the opportunities piece.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. In a way that a practical thing that you guys can do, and I'm sure you do some variation of this, is just typically to write the stuff down. Like write your goals somewhere. You could write it on a Microsoft document. You could write it on a piece of paper, a notebook, just like this. Just write it and read it over and over, or write it every day. Everyone has some kind of variation of how they do it, visualize, whatever. But, write down some good points, man. It's what you seek. And if you don't even know what you're seeking, even on a piece of paper, like you wrote when you were 13.
You're going to find it. Yeah. It's going to be nothing, but.
Exactly. It's going to be nothing. That's a perfect answer there.
Yeah.
Dude, right. So let's fast forward now. So you started reading that report, you did all this, did all that. What does your business life look like today? I know you got some different businesses. Yeah. So can you kind of go into like what does it makes up kind of like what brings you income, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, first and foremost, probably our largest source of liquidity is our wholesaling and flipping business.
Okay.
It's in Indianapolis. I won't name it because I run a bunch of ads and I'm not going to pay to show everybody my ads. But we have a local We Buy Houses company there. Then we have the buy and hold piece of the portfolio. In Indy, we've got about 140 doors. It's like 50-50. Half of it's like built post 2000s A-class vinyl village stuff. And then the other half of it is like duplexes, triplexes, quads. I've got some 5 units, 6 units, 8 unit, 10 unit, 12 units, some of that kind of stuff. And then we have our answering service called Porter, which I wouldn't really call an income stream. For me, it more enables me to be able to market at the scale I want to. I mean, I sent 15,000 pieces of mail last week, and I'm not worried about the phone calls because my staff doesn't have to take them, right? We have the folks that call Porter to do that. We have our direct mail business, Ballpoint Marketing. And again, that's not really, I have zero desire to own a mail house. It's what I was doing for a long time. I hired a guy to basically just fulfill my own marketing. And he was like, hey, there's a lot of capacity here you're not using. And I gave him a number, like if you get to this, then I'll start to talk to people about it. And I never thought he'd hit the number. He hit it in like 3 or 4 months. So I was like, well, crap. So that was kind of how that business started. And then last but not least, we have our mastermind group. But that to me is kind of it's kind of my passion project. Yeah. I was in a coaching group in 2018 that I paid $8,500 a month to be in, which was a good chunk of the spare cash I had every month.
Yeah.
But it absolutely changed my life. So we decided for real estate investors, we wanted to build a space similar to like this interview where they could show up and just be super honest of like, stuff's not going great, or like kind of like the antidote to like the check pictures, right? I think my pet peeve with being on Facebook is real estate investors like, oh, $100,000. And it's like, yeah, but 70 grand of that's not yours, you know? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Cool. So a lot of different little streams.
Yeah, I love that. And it's cool when you can integrate different things into your business life and into your personal life. Like you're using the mastermind probably to meet cool people. Mm-hmm. And it's a big thing I kind of like follow my life on. The more that I can integrate like the pillars, like the health, the wealth, the love, the happiness, relationships, the more you can integrate that into your working life, into your fitness life, I feel like the happier, more fulfilled you are. Yeah. I think you've done a pretty good job, at least in the business realm and relationships realm, to kind of fit that in, which is pretty awesome, man. I've been a part of some masterminds myself and stuff. So I definitely think, guys, and if you're listening to this and you're doing some deals, I don't know what Ryan's kind of like specifications are to join, but if you're doing this and you feel like you want to get around people like Ryan or myself, like like-minded people who are doing deals and in business, I would highly, highly check out a mastermind and check out Ryan's. Go to his website. Or what's the website that people could check out the mastermind?
So we don't really push our mastermind that hard. People just kind of find it. So best bet just go to my website, ryandossey.com. If you fill out like the form to get my ebook, which really kind of outlines my business model. It's like 27 pages long. There's info in there about it.
Cool. So definitely check that out, man. It changed my life. And that one that you paid $8,500 a month, I'm sure did wonders. And people don't realize how much paying for education is like. You're either going to pay.
I don't normally share this on any like real estate podcasts, but to show people like the ROI. So Call Porter, before I joined that group, was pulling in $100,000 a year in gross revenue. By the time I left a year later, we were doing $100,000 a month.
Wow.
So I'd cut that check every single time if I could go back.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's just the power of being around people, the power of just like having conversation with people who are doing big things, like honestly, for real. It's fucking great. I don't know.
Oh yeah. It's inspiring.
It's inspiring. And not only that, it's inspiring. Like you get introduced to people who do their email, their email or content copyright, things like that. Mm-hmm. You're just like, oh shit, that guy. All right, let me call this guy. And those little things can catapult you, or save money using this mail house, save money using this.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome, man. Dude, let me ask you this. So you've been, and how old are you now?
I'm 26.
26, cool. So I'm 27. So you're a young guy doing tons of business. Let me ask you this. So you've already been through quite a bit. Mm-hmm. What's like a lesson that's taken you pretty long to learn? Like something that you were like hard-headed about that comes to mind. You're like, this had to happen to you like a bunch of times for you to be like, "Oh, I should have learned that."
Yeah. I know the one. So a bit more personal level, but I grew up very conservative, where like being paycheck to paycheck was kind of almost worn like a badge of honor, almost like
Really?
like, well, God will provide, like almost very like there was this honor in like being broke. So as I started out in real estate and started to make money, I mean, I had multiple times where it was like, am I doing something wrong? And then my issue became not paying myself. So, I had a year, this was 2017 probably, that I pulled in over 400 grand and paid myself 35,000.
Wow.
Reason I paid myself 35,000, that was the bare minimum I needed. And I found ways to get rid of the rest of it. We donated a ton of money. We joined masterminds. And it was like, so I was constantly growing revenue numbers without paying myself more. And it was actually in that group we paid a lot to be in. Their founder sat me down. We're in an in-person event, went around the room and asked everybody what they pay themselves. And they go to the first girl and she's like, oh gosh, I couldn't show up energized if I paid myself less than $60,000 a month. And I was like, what the hell? So they go around the room and it's like 60,000, 30,000, 25,000, 15,000. They get to me, I'm last. And my answer was still 3. And he goes, I've got a level with you. Like, if you don't start to take care of you and your family, you're going to burn out. So, I mean, that was huge for me. And it was one that took me a long time to kind of figure out and to learn.
Yeah, that's good, bro. So and what's crazy is that you don't have to be a big business or have employees to pay yourself first. I think that's a big misconception. I had a very similar mistake that I thought that, if I'm a one-man show, cool, I'm always paying myself first. But if I have people, but no, you could be a one-man show and you'll see how quickly the money runs out if you don't physically open a different bank account that has your name on it, or a W-2 or some kind of QuickBooks thing that physically deposits money into a different account that's not your business. Yep. That is so key, man. I'm so glad you hit on that. Because even if you're doing 1 deal or 30 deals, you should be paying yourself something.
Yep.
And do you have some kind of like, let's say someone's listening to this doing 2 deals a month, or $10,000 a month that they're earning in wholesale revenue. Do you have some kind of formula, how you kind of divide it in your mind now? Or is it?
No, I mean, I would recommend reading, I think it's Profit First.
Yeah. By Mike
is where I would start. With me now, I just have dollar amounts of if this particular account exceeds this amount, it goes into this account. So we kind of keep like minimum thresholds and stuff, but then anything above and beyond that is mine. And like, I'm not going to lie, there's months where it's been like, that's too much money. Like I'm not this. It's still something I'm mindful of.
That's good. Yeah. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz is a really good book on that.
He also, if you get some time, he's got some incredible talks out on YouTube. Dude's hilarious.
Yeah.
I saw him speak at an event and he gets up on stage and starts talking about how Dodge Vipers are the douchiest car you can buy.
Yeah.
And he goes, I bought 2 of them. Anybody else own a Viper in the room? And I'm like, yep. He was like, and you're a douche. I was like, yep. So, but his presentation, if you find it on YouTube, is probably one of the more foul and one of the funniest presentations I've ever seen on business.
Yeah, dude. And he has a very good way of like, just like breaking down a complex like accounting model into like 4 or 5 different bank accounts that he has. It's like a profit account, a tax account.
Yep.
I highly encourage you guys to check that out on YouTube. If I find a good video, I'll put it in the show notes. But other than that, you can just search Mike Michalowicz Profit First. If you can find a way to spell that, then you follow it.
Flip side of that is I'd also recommend not sucking every dollar out of your business to pay yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, make the mistake of going full-time too fast. Of like, they probably do it a couple months sooner than they should. So all of a sudden it's like, well, I have to pay myself. And then they get to a point where they can't afford to market because they've had to pay themselves to pay bills and they don't have marketing going out. So they don't have new deals coming in. So it's kind of it is something you want to exercise some real balance in.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think that it's one of those things that like, it's great mistake. It was like a great answer to that question. The same thing happened to me. I'm sure it happened to a ton of other investors.
Yeah,
dude. So you're on here, you're doing deals, but you're not really involved in the Indianapolis business. You kind of probably involved in different things, or the mastermind's really the passion. What do you kind of see next, man? Like, I know right now is like we're filming this Corona times. I don't really want to talk about that, but like, what does Ryan see next? Like, all right, do I want to grow the wholesale business? And you don't really have to give any secrets or anything
sure.
like that, but just kind of curious on like, you've already grown a pretty big rental portfolio. I'm sure that you want to get that bigger, more passive income. But what's kind of like your goal with starting all this? You're at a good place now. What is like kind of like your next big thing that you kind of see for Ryan and what you want to like work for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say the past 6 months, I've been firing myself everywhere I can. Okay. So for instance, I enjoy running Facebook ads. I'm very good at it. I'm very good at writing the content and kind of connecting everything. I actually really enjoy marketing more than I enjoy real estate. I just realized I could make a lot of money marketing for deals in real estate was initially how I found it. But like, I hired somebody to run my Facebook ads. We hired a copywriter for a couple of our businesses, so I'm not putting out the content for them. I still do my own stuff, but he does the other stuff for me. So I think I kind of, like a lot of entrepreneurs, we tend to make dumb goals, right? Of like, I want a 6-figure business because that sounds cool. Then it's like, well, I want a 7-figure business. And, I want 100 units. Well, now I want 200 or 1,000 units or whatever. I think I've kind of had more the realization of, I just want to live and be present and enjoy my friends and my family. And, so we're actually like actively paying down our debt on our rentals. We're paying off all the debt on all of our businesses. We're wiping anything we have out personally. We're going to be buying a new house and we're going to try to pay it off in 2 or 3 years.
Love it.
I think my wife and I really just kind of made the decision of like, we just want to be able to come and go and do whatever we want. And, I'm a car guy, so that does include a Ferrari for me.
Viper.
But yeah, and I'll probably keep the Viper, but for me, at one point it was like, okay, I want to pay myself $100,000 a month. And, on top of other stuff my businesses are doing. And then I kind of had the realization of like, well, why? Right? Like, why not 50,000 a month, or maybe 30,000 a month is enough? And I mean, if you're in real estate, these aren't numbers that are hard to hit. So I think I really had I'm much more interested in being present and kind of like unplugging from kind of some of like the chasing of goals and, masterminds and clubs and stuff. And I'm more just interested in kind of showing up powerfully for the people who are important to me.
I love that. That reminds me a lot of like, I read, it was an article, but basically Maslow's hierarchy. I don't know if you've read on that.
Yeah, my wife's a psychologist, so that I'm familiar.
Gotcha. And if you don't know Maslow's hierarchy, just Google it. And it's basically like a pyramid of, I think it's a pyramid backwards or something, right? Or reverse. Yeah. And basically it just talks about like the beginning stages of when you,
like food and shelter.
Yeah, exactly. The thing, like the necessities. And then as you go up in your life, or as you start to create more things for yourself, what is really important to you? And it sounds to me like you're pretty much getting to that top of the hierarchy because you've probably moved really fast, worked really hard, got a lot of things that you wanted, which is amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fucking awesome. But it's also so good to be aware, like, man, we just fucking live in this earth, like there's nothing else to do. Like, and I think that's such a good way that you put it. And it was very simple. Why 100,000 a month? I hear those numbers all the time, especially when you go to the masterminds or even seminars, or if you read books. Certain authors might display differently, but ask yourself, why do you want to make that 50,000 a month, 10,000 a month? Why? Like, what do you really want it for? Do you want it to spend more time with your wife, with your kids? Do you want it for, and that's really the better thing to chase.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think for me, it's just like, I've always known I was going to have a phase. I always thought it would be in like my middle 30s where I kind of like, okay, what do I really want? And I think I really just kind of had the realization of, building stuff for the future is cool, but it's not all that wise because, maybe my future ends tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now. And I would rather have the freedom and flexibility to show up and shower, my wife with love and affection and be there for my friends, then be like, hey, I've got, I'll pay attention to you after this next deal. It's just kind of like, building for the future. I don't know. It just feels kind of, I'm not saying like be reckless or dumb in your money. Like obviously I own buy and hold rentals. I'm not planning on going anywhere, but at the same time, if everything you do is for the future, you miss out on a lot.
Love that. Dude, and you're pretty young. So, and I have a lot of listeners that listen to this. The bulk of the listeners from what I've seen it from like 18 to 24. A lot of them, and including myself, like how would you, I have some rentals. It seems like you kind of created like a big, really big portfolio quickly. What kind of helped you to do it? Was it access to money? Was it
money and systems? So, I mean, I have a partner in my rentals. Okay. That was their big thing was buy and hold. My big thing at the time was wholesaling. And they kind of showed me the numbers of like, well, look at how much wealth you can create through keeping these deals. And I was like, oh, that's not a hard argument. But I mean, just like anything else, right? We've ran into problems. We've gone over budget on projects. We've had people we've had to evict. We had an 8-unit that our roof caved in on, and our roof initially inspected fine. So it's like, I don't want people to think that it's just kind of this like money train to the top, but it's like, there's been some times that it's like, what on earth am I doing this for? Like, I do not need this kind of stress in my life, and it's, I think it's really just like keeping kind of your eye on that why.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah. Access to money systems was
gotcha.
it.
And that's such a wise thing to say, man. Like, just know the why. And it's very cliche. You got all these books and these videos that, and the reason I say books and videos, I enjoy reading a lot and watching YouTube videos. I feel like most of us do. But you got to be careful. You got to take some of it with a grain of salt. And but like you see like the Simon Sinek's and these videos of like start with why and, why do you want to change the world? Yeah, all that's awesome. But, I would break it down a little bit more, and make it more realistic of why that is. If you want to live on the valley, or if you want to drive a Viper and maybe not be a douche or be a douche, doesn't matter. Or if you want a Ferrari, that's all right. It's okay to have that as your why, man. But it's good to like realize that. Some people I talk to like a new wholesaler. I do like free meetups once a month. And they're like, oh yeah, I want to like change real estate investing and home buying alike. And I'm like, is that your why, dude? Come on. Like,
you're like, that kind of means nothing though. Right? Like,
I'm like, dude, you don't even know what that means,
Yeah. No, I would also not have money be your why.
Right.
For a long time, my big goal was I want to have a business that does 7 figures a year.
Right.
I hit it and I felt nothing.
Zero.
Like there was no, like we went out to a nice dinner, we bought some expensive watches and it was kind of like,
cool.
Like I'm still me, like I thought it would be this big, like, yes, I've like finally done it. And it was kind of like, well, I still feel the same, so I would caution not having it be just about money. Like for me, one of my passion projects is being involved with the ending of human trafficking. So like we take a portion of the income we make and that's what it goes towards is some nonprofits we support. And it's like, making money for the sake of money is cool. But at the end of the day, I feel like you need to have something beyond yourself that motivates you. I've got a buddy of mine who single-handedly funds an orphanage. Wow. You think he's motivated to make enough money every month to fund that orphanage?
Yeah, I love it.
Like literally people starve if he doesn't hit his goals, right? Now, that's a lot of pressure, right? So maybe you just find a nonprofit to contribute to, but I think it's about doing something that like on a deep level motivates and inspires you.
Yeah, that's really good, man. Why do you think people don't do that though? You know, like,
I think most people, I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think most people don't get to the point that their basic needs are met because they constantly upgrade their level of needs, right? Like when I was poor, I bought food from Walmart and whatever was on sale, whatever was on clearance. Now all my groceries come from Whole Foods, and I'll leave and be like, how was that $300? Right? But I think people, well, now I want to eat organic and now I want to eat clean. And you know, this gym's nice, but have you ever been to an Anytime Fitness? Like, I think people really, that growth curve of like, you know, my wife makes 6 figures a year now, so we should probably buy her a newer, nicer car. And I mean, we even had that conversation with our house of like, hey, we could buy like a stupidly nice property, or we could buy something that like we could pay off in a couple years. And what do we want to do going forward? Like, what do we want our life to be? And I think for me, I don't want to be held to payments or things that I owe or whatever. Brent McDaniel, or Brent Daniels, I don't know his last name, met at an event and was super, super helpful to me on the pay yourself piece, but also on the like shed any debt you have. Like maybe you've got a credit card and you're making money and you could pay it off, but you know, you don't because you're doing other stuff. And it's like, no, not having that pressure of that debt lingering out there is huge. So I think for a lot of people, it's just, they never get to that like margin place of like, okay, I don't have to work this month if I don't want to. I don't know. That's kind of been what I've seen, at least in the people my age that I'm around.
Right. Yeah. And kind of what Ryan was saying. And the reason I asked that question is like, it's a common thing, you know, like why don't people contribute, or why don't people do a lot more with what they can make or what their potential? And basically what Ryan is mentioning is like, some people never get to the place that they can fully exploit their potential because they're always worried about paying the bill or, you know, the rent,
the next deal.
Exactly. So it's so key to like really work hard, but work smart in the sense of like, set the goal that whatever your like potential threshold is, right? Like, let's say your bills are $6,000 a month, for example. Set your goal to that you can make $6,000 a month and have 6 months reserves in the bank for that. So like that, you can get to that potential. Now you're not thinking every month, how do I pay the rent? You have 6 months worth of rent. It doesn't have to be exactly 6. I'm just giving an example here. As you have 6 months worth of rent and all your bills, and now you can kind of like think, right? You could sit in your living room, cup of coffee, a nice book, you know, think, join a mastermind, talk to some people, get ideas. You can't have every idea in the world. The ideas come from different people and different things. So the way you mentioned, I think is awesome. I think it's very, very clear that once you get to that potential threshold, you can do a lot more, man, and contribute and really give back. And it fuels you. It's like a huge fire.
Well, even like, you know, coronavirus stuff, I'll be blunt. There were times that if that had happened in various other places of my life, I would have been screwed. Like there were times that I had no margin. Like even now that I've grown in business, there was times that it was like, okay, we're doing this software build out and I'm signing a large check, you know, but we made the decision, I think it was about a year ago, to really focus on getting liquid. So like in our rental portfolio, people are like, well, what do you do if tenants stop paying? We could go 6+ months without collecting a dime before we're in trouble. And it's like, you know, and I don't say that as like to brag. To brag if you're not in that position right now. But at the same time, it's like, I'm super thankful that people that were in my life spoke to that, like, hey, you'd better get liquid. Cause like, if not, you know, I would have been one of the people like, bro, I hope that 12 hundo is coming through.
And yeah, that's a good one. And also pay off debt, man. You mentioned it, credit card debt, even if it's like $2,000, like just a thought of it lingering. I mean, look, if you really don't have the money paid off, you don't have the money paid off, but actively work to paying off debt. man, what it does mentally when you free that up, it's like you can't even just imagine. I think that's really good advice there. And it's okay. You know, when I started a business, I put a lot of stuff on credit cards, my first mailers. And I think,
my first mailing campaign was on a credit card I couldn't pay off. I mean, and my second and my third and my fourth. I mean,
but not the Viper though,
Nope.
That's good, man. I think it's perfectly okay to use credit cards, but just be very mindful that you should pay it off as you can.
And I would probably make sure you're doing revenue generating things if that's the path you're going.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one of our things with our mastermind, like, we're not looking to have somebody charge something they can't pay off to work with us. Like, I've got no interest in the kind of energy that brings to our community. Like, you know, hey, we're not for you yet. Here's some other options, you know? So I make sure if that's the route you go, that you're spending it on marketing and getting in front of people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Dude, I feel like people who start their own businesses, achieve success, learn and grow. And I feel like everyone has some kind of chip. I could be wrong, but I feel like everyone has some kind of like little chip or some kind of obsession, you know? I'm curious, like when I say like obsession, what kind of comes to mind? Do you have anything, and it could be non-business related, by the way. Do you have anything that you're kind of like obsessed about? Like, man, I fucking love that, or this and that. Like, what kind of comes to mind when I say that?
So, I mean, I would say on the obsessed side for me, it's definitely cars.
Really?
Yeah, I've always been a car guy. I mean, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I used to be able to tell you like horsepower specs, curb weight, 0 to 60 for just about anything.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, I was the like. There's a meme that's like, boys will say they don't hear you, but a car goes vroom and they can tell you which one it was from 6 blocks over. I mean, that was me. So I would say that really has been kind of the like obsession piece. I would say on the chip piece, I think it's been wanting to show people that they were wrong. I had my last W-2 job. When I quit, my boss told me I was worth less than minimum wage. And I was like, okay, you're going to learn.
You're going to learn today, big boy.
Yep. So, you know, it's funny. One of my general managers actually that I worked with called me like a year ago, was interested in joining my coaching program. And he was like, right, I never thought like this would be the dynamic. So yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, man. And I think it's okay to explore that obsession. And because, you know, the follow your passion saying, why didn't you do anything in cars? I mean, besides the insurance, obviously, you know, like anything like as far as different.
So my problem is I'm not just into cars. I'm into the expensive Italian ones. So people who sell Ferraris aren't the people who own Ferraris.
Right.
You know, so I think for me, it was that and travel. And the ability to come and go as you please and drive what you want is not cheap. So it was kind of like, how can we check those boxes? That and then really being like present for friends and family. So I think that's really what it kind of came down to for me is how do we accomplish those? And I mean, at one point, I mean, like everybody else, there's all kinds of stuff I wanted to do. At one point, I was going to be a motorcycle mechanic because I rebuilt an old motorcycle and loved it. Then I wrecked it like 4 times and realized it probably wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know, I think with cars, it's kind of like, you know, at one point I looked into flipping them and buying low and selling high. And, you know, I have friends that do that still to this day. But I think it was just my first deal. I made $10,000. I had a business partner in it at the time. We kind of like started things together. And at the time I was making 20 grand a year. So in a couple hours, I made what would take me 6 months of what I was trading 6 months of my life for. And I was kind of like, okay, I have seen the light. You know, I mean, it's pretty hard to show up and punch a time clock or trade, you know, dollars for your time once you've had that kind of an experience.
Yeah, that shit's rough. It's that first deal, man. And like, yeah, I feel like almost everybody that talks about the first deal kind of gets like a little smirk. It's just like, it was messy. It didn't go right.
I listed it on Zillow for sale by owner. Like the people I sold it to were new flippers with grandma's money who I think still own it. Like, I mean, it was not like a by the book. I mean, this was anything and everything you could have done wrong, I did. But at the end of the day, it was like, okay, cool, this can work.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to get that first deal? Do you remember?
Less than 30 days. It was like we did a direct mail campaign. We got calls, we worked those leads, and we had a deal done.
Love it. Yeah. And that's okay, man. Some people take less than 30 days. Some people I've heard takes a year, 9 months, whatever. But yeah, just the first deal, guys, if you're listening to this, the first deal is probably going to be messy. Embrace it.
How long did your first one take you?
3 months.
All right. Yeah. If you go 9 months or a year and you haven't got a deal yet, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'll just be blunt with you. Like it's, even if you're doing direct mail, like a lot of mail houses will be like, oh, budget for 6 months without a deal. Their mail must suck because I'm not that patient, right? Like if I had to do something for 6, 9 months, a year before I got a deal, like the people that have put in that kind of time to get their deal, props to them. I don't have that kind of perseverance. I get bored. So,
especially if you're doing this shit full time. If you're doing this full time, you should be moving quick every day. Be knocking on doors, be calling. I don't know, sending mail,
cold calling, reading letters, hanging out on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Like if you're not in front of people, you ain't gonna get a deal done.
Yeah. Dude, so one kind of like big question, and then I got one more like tactical thing, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Dude, when I say or when you hear $100 million. What kind of comes to mind as far as like business? Like, I know that not everyone has a dream or a passion to get to 100 million or anything. I more ask that question is to see like what big ideas are out there. I know I could think of a billion or whatever. I get it. But more the more of this is I just want to see kind of what big ideas you think of when it comes to like.
So I think for me, so real estate for me has never been my end all be all.
Okay.
I think it'll always be something I do. It's always something I'll be involved in. But for me, it's more been like a means to an end has kind of been the way I've looked at it. So to answer that question, I don't really know what I'll do next, but my goal is something that can benefit the vast majority of human beings. I think I'm much more interested in something in like the e-com or technology advancement or automations or, I mean, even data. I think I'm much more interested in something that has a much wider application than like, owning a call center for real estate investors is cool. We get to change lives every single month. But at the same time, it's like, I want to be the guy who finds like the next electricity or whatever that next, like, how did we live without this? So I have no clue what that looks like.
Gotcha. But that's kind of in your mind. Yeah. I saw you put something on your Instagram about some data. Is that part of your marketing company?
No, you're talking about the artificial intelligence, machine algorithm learning stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm a dork when it comes to if I can figure out how to make people, if I can figure out before I mail a list, who would be the ones that would call. I mean, I've hired various data scientists and stuff, but there's a tool called ReallyFlow that I use. Yeah. And the founders of it they've been able to predict within an 11% accuracy if a property will sell within 90 days or not. So imagine like taking 10 properties and knowing like of these 10, this is the one you should probably mail. Now, in order to get that level of accuracy, you've got to mail like 10,000 people. So this is a larger list, but there's somebody I buy data from. It's a tool I pay for. They're like $1,500 a month. So it's not cheap, but the thing that's nuts in Indianapolis, the month I pulled the data that my wife and I sold our house, they had us on the list to sell. So wow. I don't need much more proof than that. So that's pretty cool.
That's really interesting. It's tons of crazy stuff out there, data scientists. And if that scares you guys, I wouldn't get scared about data scientists or any of that. If you're just starting out, obviously just keep it simple.
Oh yeah. No, this is like once you're dotting all the other I's, crossing all the other T's and want something to play with. Yeah.
That was kind of just me asking because I saw the post, and for people here who are listening who have businesses and doing stuff, I think they can benefit from hearing.
Yeah, no, I love their platform.
Yeah, and that's through Really Flow, or is that something with you? Okay.
No, it's through Really Flow. It's like technically invite only. There's some exclusivity and stuff to it. But if you reach out to them and just tell them I sent you, they'll get you hooked up.
I love it. Actually, I remember Really Flow like 5-6 years ago when I first started. The two CRMs I was messing with was FreedomSoft and Really Flow, and I ended up using FreedomSoft, and Really Flow ended up doing a bunch of things.
They have a CRM product, but I just use their data. Similar with I use PropStream for stuff, and I'm not using them for skip tracing or direct mail or anything like that. But I like some of the niches I'm able to easily pull through them.
Yeah, same.
Those are those are the two data tools that I pay for.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, cool, man. I appreciate that. And so let's say that we went big scale. Let's say that you lost, you didn't have any more money. Trump went in your bank accounts and took your shit for whatever reason. And you had to get one deal. You had to pay bills. You have a couple $100 in your pocket. You have to get one deal, or you got to make some money in real estate to be able to, pay a phone bill in your car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of, technical things would you do nowadays post-corona?
So my advice for that is what I preach against, and that's gray area marketing. So I would go into text message blasting, most likely, just because the cost is so low. We don't do it just because, I think it's pretty illegal. We have a lot to lose. But if I was gun to my head, have to feed my family, that's what I would do.
Gotcha. Yeah, and what he's saying is that if for those of you guys don't know what that is, text message marketing is basically you can go on a website and you can upload a list and phone numbers. You click a couple buttons, whether you click a bunch of times or one time, and it'll send out messages to the list with something, you can type whatever you want.
I want to buy your house cash or whatever.
Yeah. And it is a form of marketing. It's like you said, it is very gray.
It's getting less gray by the day. It's darker and darker and darker and darker.
Yeah. And this, you can probably read a bunch of articles and stuff about it, but I imagine that your number one strategy is mail, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So direct mail followed by SEO are my two largest deal sources.
Got it. Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, you heard it from him. If you were to start over, do some texting, got some big ideas. Dude, Ryan, we've kind of moved a little bit quickly, and I didn't have much of a structure. And
you're good, man.
That way, because it's the first time we're meeting, and I thought, ask questions that I thought might benefit the audience. But dude, it's been awesome. You kind of talked from the beginning, from the emo kid who kind of went on and started doing sales and car insurance. Then you made some money doing that. Then you started wholesale. You got married. You moved. You did this. You did that. So I love the story, man. I think it was awesome. How can people follow you, find you? I know you put a lot of content on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to do it is probably just to go to my website, ryandossey.com, and then that pretty much links you to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of stuff.
ryandossey.com. Perfect, guys. So I'll put the link in the show notes. Check out his website. I think he also has a free ebook on there.
Yep.
He's got a couple different links to his Instagram and stuff. So definitely give him a follow. He's putting in a ton of content. I actually want to get the ebook. I'm going to read it as well. So
it's I'm not going to lie. It's not like a lead magnet. We actually put some heart and soul into it. So it's a lot of people have told us it's been super helpful for them.
Oh, dude, I love it. But yeah, guys, so follow Ryan. I appreciate you guys for listening. If you're listening to this on iTunes, feel free to watch this on our YouTube channel, Raul Bolufe, or you can check it out on my website, raulbolufe.com, and it will be there. Appreciate you again, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Take care, guys.